All right, at this time, we'd like to start a highlight of the introduction of the Fresno Pacific Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2011. At this time, we'd like to invite Ron Adams and presenter Gary Nachtigall to the stage.
I'm here in part because Ron and I go back to the day when Bob Fraley called me, said I have a basketball player here at Layton. You gotta take a look at it. And so I was his coach. But I'd like to say that character counts. The adage, you can take the boy off the farm, but you cannot take the farm out of the boy, was true about Ron when he arrived in 1965. His quiet demeanor and country humor made an immediate impression. Ron was a character in that regard. When Ron graduated in 1969, the faculty voted him the outstanding graduating senior for his academic diligence, Renaissance interest, and commitment to the Christian values unique to this place. In 4 years, Ron had matured as a man of character. Ron is now one of the outstanding defense coaches in the country. His work ethic and mental toughness, he now passes on to that small group of elite athletes he works with as they strive to become world basketball champions. I read from the letter I received from Tom Thibodeau, head coach of the Chicago Bulls. Dear Mr. Nachtigall, I have known Ron Adams for over 20 years. We have worked on staffs in San Antonio, Philadelphia, and now currently in Chicago. On behalf of our team, coaching staff, and the Chicago Bulls organization, I would like to send our heartfelt congratulations to Ron on being inducted into the Fresno Pacific University Hall of Fame. Ron has been a great coach in the NBA for a long time. He is as fine a teacher as there is in the game today. He has been instrumental in helping to build our team and is an invaluable member of our staff and organization. More importantly, he is a man of great integrity and character. His honesty, sincerity, caring, and trustworthiness make him not only a great coach, but a great person as well. He has willingly shared his knowledge with the coaches from all over the world. In closing, I would again like to congratulate Ron and his family on this great honor. Sincerely, Tom Thibodeau. Would the family and friends of Ron Adams please stand for the reading of his Hall of Fame citation. One of the most distinguished alumni to ever come out of Fresno Pacific, Ron Adams started his career on the freshman men's basketball team in 1965. A 6-foot guard from Lake California, Adams scored a school record 43 points in a game on the freshman team before playing 3 years of varsity ball. A starter in his last 2 seasons, Adams graduated in 1969 as the outstanding graduating senior at then Fresno Pacific College. After serving as an assistant coach with Fresno Pacific, he was promoted to head coach in 1972 at the age of 25. The program experienced an instant turnaround, going from 7-20 the year before to 16-13 in Adams' first season. He coached FPC for 2 more seasons, leading the team to a 19-7 record in 1973 and 74, a record that stood as the program's all-time winningest season for 25 years. With Fresno Pacific as a launching pad, Adams' coaching career has taken him across the globe into the game's highest levels. From FPC, he went on to coach collegiately at US International, UC Santa Barbara, and UNLV. In 1986, after assisting Boyd Grant at Fresno State, he became their head men's basketball coach, leading the Bulldogs for 4 seasons before moving on to the NBA. In the NBA, he has had the opportunity to coach some of the best players in the world, including Ray Allen, Kevin Durant, Gary Payton, Scottie Pippen, David Robinson, and 2010-11 league MVP Derrick Rose. Ron Adams is currently an assistant coach for the Chicago Bulls. He helped guide the team in 2010-11 to the Eastern Conference Finals and the best record in the NBA. He has held assistant coaching stints with the San Antonio Spurs, Philadelphia 76ers, Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls, and Oklahoma City Thunder. In addition, he has served as a player and personnel scout for the Portland Trail Blazers and a special assignment scout for the Chicago Bulls. Adams has also coached professional basketball in Belgium and Japan, and has consulted and coached the Canadian national basketball program as well as the Belgium Basketball Federation. Ron Adams and wife Leah have 2 children, Jared and Haley. Quote, "Thanks to my professors for their wisdom and guidance. Thanks to my coaches for their encouragement and example. And thanks to my teammates for their friendship and joy, that come from working together. Thanks to my players for their effort, their resolve, and their courage. And thanks to my parents, Gary and Marion Adams, for teaching me to love and respect others." It is with great respect and admiration that we bestow upon you, Ron Adams, Fresno Pacific University's highest athletic honor, induction into the Fresno Pacific Athletic Hall of Fame in the coach category. Congratulations.
Sounds like I moved around a bit. I want to thank Fresno Pacific University community for this award. It's quite an honor, and I'm very grateful for it. And I want to also congratulate the other people being honored this evening: Raphael, Lynn, Dennis, and Randy. Randy, of course, I coach, as a marvelous basketball player. I'm a little bit embarrassed by Gary's comments, but it reminds me of my dad, who liked to tell the joke about the two good friends who just left a funeral. A really good friend of theirs had passed away, and they're walking out of the church, and one looks at the other and said, "Did we know that guy?" I'd like to recognize my family that is here this evening. My brother Don, his wife Anya, they're not children anymore, but young adults, Aaron and Amy, Amy's husband Nate, and also my cousins Larry and Penny Raven are here this evening. And my wife Leah of 30 years, who has been a fantastic wife, putting up with me as we journey around this country. And thank you all for being here. Many people like to talk about how they pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And I have to say that that isn't the theory that I subscribe to. In many ways, I am a product of the many good people here at this university, and who touched my life and allowed me to grow and nourish me. Gary Nachtigall will always be a very special person in my mind. He recruited me. I can remember the day he drove out to Clarkson Avenue in his sports car, and he was a young, good-looking, energetic guy, and I was a country hick, and he was pretty impressive to me. And eventually, I actually drove a sports car for a while. So he had a little bit of influence. And Gary was a person who not only was a tremendous man, just a great mentor, and someone that we could look up to as young athletes. I also had the privilege of being coached by Harold Entz, another wonderful man who took great delight when we beat Westmont College, his alma mater. And Harold was my coach for 1 year. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention a fellow prior to this who really influenced my life, and that's Bob Fraley. Bob and Elaine are here this evening, and Bob, like the two gentlemen I mentioned, is just a rock of a man who coached me in basketball at Layton High. I'm surprised that he and Elaine are still together because I used to bug him a lot to get inside the gym. But wonderful family. And Bob has done so much in his life through his coaching, through his faith. He currently is involved in a Run for a Dream project in which he goes to high school and speaks to young people about goal setting and achievement. And he's one of the most practical men I've ever been around. He's one of the most humble. And a lot of those characteristics I know rubbed off on me and Bob. I'm thankful for all you have meant to me. My professors here at Fresno Pacific were very instrumental in my development also. And in the past week I had the really distinct pleasure, I hadn't seen him for ages, but I had a long coffee for a couple hours with Paul Taves, who was a very important figure to me. He was a young professor, very bright, a very committed scholar who, again, was a good example of something that perhaps I could become. More polished, gain some knowledge, and be able to impart it. A very important person. I also had a lot of fun this week. Last night, as a matter of fact, I got together with Dr. Peter Clausen and Nancy. And Peter was another guy. And I was telling Peter, he was kind of laughing at me yesterday, but I was telling Peter how important it was to go to his classes. And in this life, I can only tell all the young people here, you athletes that are sitting out there, it's very important to master something in life. It can be very small. It doesn't have to be a grandiose kind of thing, but to master something and do it well. And guys like Paul and Peter had mastered what they did. It was impressive to me. The other thing is they, unlike a lot of the sloppy dressing that goes on in this day and age, Peter always came to class. He had his tie, he had his jacket on. That's a small thing, but it was a very big thing because I was a kid from the country and we weren't, really dress up people as a kid, and that was impressive to me, as was his sagaciousness and ability to make history come alive to me. I also had two other people of note that I must mention. One was Dr. Henry Cron, who's since passed away. He was a China expert, and John Redikoff, Dr. John Redikoff, was a political science professor. Henry taught me a good lesson. I remember to this day. I mean, all of you, during your education, there are a couple of things that come up that you can remember vividly. This was one. And I was proposing some, I thought, sterling thesis in this class, and Dr. Cron interrupted me and he says, "Mr. Adams," he said, "until you know as much as the scholars, your opinion matters little." Something I've tried to adhere to over the years. Real quickly, when I look back at being here as a player and as a coach, this was a totally different place. You guys have fantastic facilities. You got this big-time sports programs going and so on. And it's a very different setting than I was in. And I have a number, I wish I could have the time to introduce and talk a little bit about Laura and all of them, and Kim Wall and all of the athletes who are out here that I coach, but I don't this evening. And but we practiced at Yosemite Junior High School. We practiced at Fresno City College. We played basketball. We played our games at Fresno City College and Roosevelt High School. And I was reminded by someone today that we also practiced at Hamilton Junior High School occasionally, which was a bad place. As with Gary, when I coached, I was athletic trainer, publicist, team psychologist, janitor, because I insisted on a clean floor, and to this day I don't like dirty gym floors, regardless of the level of play. And I was the bus driver. And it was interesting because we had to fight like crazy to stay awake when you have a car full of athletes and you're coming across the ridge and you see that fog after playing in LA. And I did it gladly. I thought I had the best job in the world, but I look back on it, it was a lot of work. I have made many stops in my 42 years of coaching. I have stopped always measuring my stops in terms of the success of the team that I'm with. I try to measure in terms of the people that I have met along the way. And one of the blessings of this particular configuration of practicing at Yosemite Junior High is I met a really interesting fellow, Dean St. John, who became a mentor of sorts to me. He was one of the most charmingly eccentric people I've been around. And eccentricity to me is a high compliment. And a wonderful man who got me playing tennis, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that. And we had a great relationship over the years. So thank you for making this night possible for me. I will always remember all of what you did for me here. Many of you who have affected my life are present in this crowd. And I say that on the part of the athletes too. I think sometimes you don't understand how much some of you affected me and helped me grow. I want to close real quickly with a little poem by Mary Oliver. I thought it summed up some things that I think about this evening for myself. It's called The Song of the Builders. On a summer morning, I sat down on a hillside to think about God, a worthy pastime. Near me, I saw a single cricket. It was moving the grains of the hillside, this way and that way. How great was its energy. How humble its effort. Let us hope it will always be like this, each of us going on in our inexplicable ways, building the universe. Thank you.